take that cigar out of that box over there?
That was the Cuban they brought for me?
Yes!
Now I know who took that. You might not actually be putting in the same level of effort, but because you're hanging around the right people, you're still going upstream.
I want to be like a lion, where they know that, hey, I'm powerful and protect you. There is calm. I'm present. I'm with my kids. I want to have other lions that I'm running with.
I love the parable of the talents, Matthew 25. It's one of my favorite, if not favorite, scriptures. I really believe that God expects us to.
This is the Unleash Your Purpose podcast.
All right, welcome to Unleash Your Purpose podcast with your host, Ryan Centers. I'm super excited to have a great friend and someone actually I look up to a ton. Kevin Tinter, he's a coach, an author, but has a really kind of inspirational life that me, from an outsider, gets to watch. And you inspire me a ton. So thanks for coming on.
Ryan, thanks for having me. And I would say it's reciprocal inspiration because I look up to you, the pace that you run, and I'm like, you're one of the two fastest paced people I know.
Okay.
And I look at your life, I'm like, I don't know how he does it, but it's good to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. One of the coolest things we'll kind of jump into, but you have, I've been to your house. You have a beautiful place. You've done so many different events there. But you have this amazing poker room.
Yeah.
It's an outdoor space, right? And the first time I went there, I was like, okay, you're going into a place, it's all guys, it's packed out, and you create this beautiful community, and it's pokers and cigars. And actually, I think you hosted a benefit for Ohana at your house for it. So we're super excited to go. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to expect. First off, I didn't bring any cigars. and you're giving an introduction. You're like, all right, hey, the cigars are over here. I'm like, oh, thank God. I can get a cigar. So you give all the instructions. I mean, this is legit. You have 3 tables. There's rules. You're getting drawn of like where to go. I mean, this is a full-on production.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready to go to this. I'm like, I got to stretch out to make it happen. So I'm like, all right, at least I have a safety blanket of a cigar. So I go over to the area where all the cigars are, and I'm like, all right, I'll find like a smaller cigar, not like one that's going to take me 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so I find one of the smaller cigars, I cut it and start smoking it. You're giving more directions. And then one of your regulars comes up to me. He's like, did you take that cigar out of that box over there?
That was the Cuban they brought for me?
Yes!
Now I know who took that.
Yes. I'm like, aren't those the free cigars that they're talking about? He's like, I brought that for Kevin as the host that I got from Cuba or something.
Yeah.
That's a specialty cigar, probably hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, this one? I'm smoking it. I felt so bad. And then I get placed right next to the guy. He's like, the whole time, he's like, all right, Cuba. He's calling me Cuba the whole time. Oh, so I never lived that down.
It's funny. He told me, he's like, Kev, I brought you a Cuban, but someone else smoked it. I was like, oh, okay. Now I know who did.
It was delicious,
So
let me tell you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So you have this, you create this amazing community and your family around it. And you wrote a book that kind of really helps illustrate this so well. Uncommon Freedom. I've read it. It's super inspirational. You had John Maxwell has talked about it a ton. So tell our audience kind of what this Uncommon Freedom is and what it means for you.
Yeah. So for my wife, Becca, and I, our life has changed drastically. Actually, 13 years ago, this month, my wife made a pivotal decision that when you look back, it was a whole new chapter. It was like we literally turned a page to a new chapter of her life that has gotten better and better for the last 13 years. And for my wife, it was the decision to physically get healthy. She'd been healthy her whole life, but after we had 3 kids in 4 years, she had the baby weight, was struggling to get rid of it. We didn't have a triple jogging stroller. We had a double jogging stroller. And she'd been able to exercise the weight off with the first 2 kids, but now it was like, what do I do? And so she, made a decision. She had a friend that she had met from church who was helping other people get healthy. And she's like, this is how I'm going to get healthy. And I think, any mom who's given birth, well, I guess if you're a mom, you've probably given birth, although not all have, they can relate to that. But what it did is it actually brought my wife initially into an amazing community of like-minded, positive people that were, instead of just accepting kind of where they were at, they're contending for something else. And then she, after several months, I finally got on board with it, decided to get healthy myself, and it eventually brought me into the same community. I remember going to kind of a training, mentoring session with some of the leaders that my wife was working with after she became a coach with the program. And this wise lady named Lisa, she's like, "What are your dreams?" And it caught me off guard because at this point in my life, I had been in the Marine Corps, been a police officer. And although I had maybe more fantasies from the standpoint, I'd love to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40. I'd love to have a boat, be able to take my family on a vacation to Hawaii. I didn't have any structure to actually do that.
Okay.
And so when she asked that question, it was like, wow, I actually need to think about being intentional with my life and what I actually want to create instead of just managing kind of what comes my way. But shortly after this, I actually got involved in the business with my wife.
Okay.
And it was, a huge blessing to us. The Lord has blessed it incredibly. And it became just for us a season of growing year after year, not only in our health, but just our community, in our spheres of influence, and then also financially. And then after several years, I was able to retire from the police department.
Okay.
And actually after less than 2 years. And what I identified, at this point, I'd hit the wall, as they call it in law enforcement. And I think, in social services, people hit the wall.
Yeah.
In education.
Is it kind of like a burnout
Exactly.
It's like you have these golden handcuffs on your life of just this job and you
Exactly.
want something more.
Yeah. And I identified
freedom in your life.
100%. I identified my core value was freedom.
Okay.
And at this point, until now, I hadn't realized it. And when, my life, I've shared this many times, but, I spent most of my holidays at work.
Yeah.
My wife would meet me at a Home Depot parking lot. I'd, give her and the kids a kiss.
Yeah.
She'd go off to the friends for the 4th of July barbecue or her parents for Christmas dinner. And I was at work.
That's hard.
And then, if one of my family members was getting married or something like that, I was like, I don't know if I can go because I have to work. I might have court. I can't get time off. So I realized freedom was actually my core value. And it created a lot of dissonance because I had no freedom.
Yeah.
And this business actually allowed me to quit, which gave me that freedom back. And we got to the point where we could do just about anything we wanted. Now, I don't own a yacht or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the quality of our life had improved so much. And at the same time, we were continuing to follow like stewardship principles that we implemented in year one of our marriage of just continuing to tithe.
Yeah.
That we were like, life is so good.
Yeah.
How do we even explain this to other people? And then I heard someone use this term, uncommon freedom. And when I heard that, I was like, that is it. Like that captures the essence of the life that we're living and that we really want to help other people live as well.
Yeah.
And the idea is being able to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, but as Christians from a kingdom purpose.
Yeah.
So yes, we take several nice trips per year as a family.
Yep.
But we also give a significant portion of our income to give it away. Much of it is to charities, but if it's not a write-off, it doesn't mean we don't give.
Right.
And we're intentional about serving the community with our kids. We could do a better job. But we've done some things with Ohana.
Yeah.
Take my kids to Mexico on missions trips. We've been to Africa. So that's kind of the kingdom aspect of uncommon freedom. It's not just about selfish ambition and living a comfortable, cushy life. I don't think God has any issues with that.
Right.
As long as we temper that with service to others.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot. And that is powerful. Like having the sense of freedom and to be able to pull back and not have to work the 9 to 5,
Yeah.
that was probably a huge moment for you. Was it scary to kind of take that leap of faith to be able to say, hey, I have this government job, pension, all of that, to saying, hey, I'm going to take this step towards launching my own business, being able to say, hey, I have this path on my own and I'm going to make my own way? Or was it like a freeing experience? Like, what was that like?
No, it was very intimidating.
Sure.
Having spent at this point about 11 years on a government payroll.
Yeah.
I call it the S word, security.
Yeah.
There's an illusion of security that you have.
That's great.
Because,
that is so true.
During, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 years.
Because is it that secure, right?
Exactly. Because there was a lot of people in 2020 that had government jobs that they got laid off, right?
Sure.
And they might have passed up on other opportunities because they're like, well, I've got the security of this government job and a pension. Well, it's secure until you don't have it anymore.
Right.
And the reality is no one cares about your future as much as you do.
Yep.
And assuming that everything is going to stay the same, it's a false assumption.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it was intimidating to realize I'm now going to have to pay for health insurance on my own. I'm responsible for my own retirement.
Yeah.
But the reality is you have so much more opportunity on your own than you do collecting a paycheck from someone else.
Oh, I have so much more faith in myself.
Yes.
And maybe in the confidence that I have that I can make it happen versus relying on someone else's to give me that paycheck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think that's not the normal. There is this fear that people have to be able to step out, to be able to make it happen. And you've obviously punched fear in the face or whatever it is and been able to step out and had this freedom. And you guys moved from Portland, right?
Yeah, suburbs of Portland.
Okay, down to Phoenix. What was that? Why did you guys make that transition?
So that was a quality of life decision we made.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Cleveland, so I've had a lifetime's share of rain, cold, gray skies.
Yeah. No
Going
more.
from Cleveland to Portland or north, the Pacific Northwest, it's no better. In fact, I found it was actually more depressing.
Sure.
And I was walking my kids to school. Our home in Oregon, we lived right across the street from the school. So I would walk my boys to school, and it was a January downpour, and I hated it. And I just kind of had this epiphany. This is one of the things I've learned is we get stuck in these paradigms.
Yeah.
And this is why talking to people who you admire and respect that can help you break out of these paradigms is so effective.
Right.
Because I was stuck in this paradigm of, well, this is where we live. And I didn't even think until I just got fed up that we could move. And I went home, walked in the door. I said, "Hun, what if we moved?" Because we had this distant dream of moving. I just don't know why we had decided to implement it sooner.
Yeah.
Walked in the door, said, "What if we moved?" I expected a lot of resistance because my wife's family lived in Oregon.
Yeah.
But she was like, "I guess we could consider it." And I think within a couple of weeks, we were in Arizona looking at houses and quickly decided this is where we wanted to be.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now our state's better. Because
Well,
the Tinters are here.
I hope so. I hope so.
And now you've created this entire community around not your home and your family that are on this journey with you to kind of have this uncommon freedom.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we really have. And I think, one of the things I've learned is honestly, there are some communities that are stuck. And we felt
complacent. What does stuck mean?
Yeah, like there's a mindset that
just like kind of like going through it. You don't want to level up. You don't want to come to the better version of yourself.
As an example, what I learned, I had a number of friends move to Arizona before we did. And I heard nothing but positive things. I heard things like, "Oh, they smile more in Arizona." I was like, "Okay, you guys drank the Kool-Aid. I don't believe it."
Yeah.
And then someone's like, "Well, it's the sunshine, the vitamin D." I was like, "Okay, maybe I can understand that." But in Oregon, there's a lot of big tech jobs that pay well. Good enough, good is the enemy of great. So between Nike and Intel, there's a lot of people making 6 figures.
Sure.
They're working 80 hours a week, so they can't start a business because they don't have the margin.
Yeah.
And they're making enough that they live a comfortable life. But they're still hitting a ceiling and they're still getting worked to death. When I moved to Arizona, I found there was a much more of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
and people just thought differently. And I'm not trying to bash people in Portland area or anything like that, but it was like this overwhelming culture there where I didn't know that many people that were entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And then we came down here and it was a drastic change.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we put ourselves in, a fishbowl and we're stuck.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you want to change, until you get into a bigger pond, you can't grow. It's like a koi fish, right?
Yeah. Well, don't talk bad about my koi.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
They only get as big as in the pond or
exactly
in the environment they're in.
Exactly. So I think a lot of times we limit our growth by the
community we surround.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you have to kind of either change your environment and change your community, or you're just going to continue to be complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure you say the same thing. Actually, I write in your book, like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
100%.
And your kids, you're like continuing to be super intentional with the kids we're raising. Is like, what is the community that they're around, and making sure that their community is encouraging them, helping to make them better versions of themselves. That's a very vital part.
Absolutely.
You talk in here about, in your book, which I thought was a really good analogy about swimming upstream, kind of thinking about koi, which is, I'm actually getting a koi fish tattoo next week. So you can.
Wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Timing is perfect.
Timing is perfect. But koi actually swim upstream.
Okay.
Like that's, and then they breed.
Yeah.
So for you, when you think about swimming upstream, like what is that analogy?
Yeah. So this concept came to me, and I'm sure it's not original.
Yeah.
But it's a really good graphic, I think, for life, because when you think about society as a whole, society is going downstream.
Sure. What's easy?
It's
like
easy.
You just kind of go with culture.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about, if either you've been, rafting in the Salt River or a lazy river, it takes no effort. Yeah. Now, there are some people who they're going downstream and they're trying really hard. Those might be your drug dealers and your the men who abuse women. Like, they're going downstream and they're putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they're going downstream.
They're swimming and maximizing.
Yeah. So when it comes to your health, you're not being intentional about what you eat and your activity and things like that. When it comes to your marriage, you're not being intentional about learning your spouse's love language, dating them, reading books.
You're sitting next to each other on the couch, but you feel like you're a million miles apart.
Exactly. And you connect by, texting each other, instead of actually having conversations.
Yeah.
Financially, downstream living is, not managing your finances. It's going deeper and deeper into debt. And, maybe it's just a little bit at a time, but you're not getting ahead. And so, but really if you were to ask anybody, what do you want for your life? Yeah. That's going to be an upstream effort, right? I'd love to be, if not wealthy, I'd love to have enough, and then some. A little extra would be awesome. Physically, I'd love to be healthy. I'd love to have energy. I'd love to sleep well. I'd love to be in good enough shape that I can play with my kids, my grandkids, go on vacation and feel confident taking my shirt off, whatever it is.
Sure.
In marriage, it'd be like, man, I'd love to have a, super amazing, intimacy level with my spouse and have fun with them. Those are all upstream things. And the truth is, that's what everyone wants, but it's not what everyone's willing to do. Yeah. And so if you realize that truly what you want is upstream, it's good to realize that it's going to take effort. I mean, I have, with one of my kids, he's always like, I just want it to be easy. And I'm like, I understand that. We all want it to be easy, but I got news for you. It never will be. And there's an illusion of ease when you're going downstream, but
it's relaxing, you're chilling.
Right. But then you experience the pain of regret versus the pain of discipline, which is going upstream. And, this concept that just came to me recently was the fruit of regret is bitter, but the fruit of discipline is sweet. So yes, I'm going to continue to work hard the rest of my life. I'm going to row upstream, and it's still work. I'm not retiring.
But you start to actually get not just used to the discipline, but you end up thriving in it.
Yes.
Like, I was thinking, I was coming back to the gym. My gym closed abruptly yesterday. So this morning I had to go. The next morning I went and looked at 2 gyms, did a half workout at one gym, half another, just to figure that out. But I was thinking, in my life, when I come to working out, I intentionally take off 1 week a year, and it's the week between Christmas and New Year's because my joints start to hurt. I need a break. But in my life, it's for my mental health. It's for my physical health. I have to continue to just push, and that's just a discipline that now it's become just a thing that I have to be intentional with. So it sounds like for you, swimming upstream is like there's a difference where going through life that you're just accidentally going through the motions. I accidentally let whatever job comes to me accidentally come, but I have to be intentional with everything.
Correct.
And creating a vision. So for you guys have created this vision in this picture for your life that you want to have in your business. And you guys are laser focused on swimming upstream to make it happen.
Absolutely. And when you're going upstream, the act of rowing, you get stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And your muscles it's not that it gets easier, but you're just
but you can actually do more, right? So if this is where you hear these stories, it's like it took me maybe I made my first $1 million at 40.
Yeah.
I made my second at 45.
Yeah.
And then I made my third at 47 or something like that. That's because you get better at things.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens because you're going upstream, you're getting stronger. And the other thing that plays into that is the community piece. So when I share this analogy, I encourage people to think, okay, you're in a boat.
Okay.
And you're either going downstream or upstream. And because if you're in a boat by yourself, upstream, at some point you're going to get tired, or you're going to, maybe your parents are going to get sick and you're going to have to spend time taking care of your parents, or you have a child go through some type of crisis and you have to disengage. If you're in that boat by yourself, eventually the current will take you back downstream. So this is where community is so important. And I talk to people, you have to upgrade your circle. You have to get in a boat with other people that are going upstream, or invite other people that are willing to go upstream to join you. Because when you need a break, if you're in a boat with people that are rowing upstream, you're still making progress. You might not actually be putting in the same level of effort, but because you're hanging around the right people, you're still going upstream.
Have you ever noticed, and I'm a big believer of you need to upgrade your circle. You need to find the circle that people are encouraging you and things like that. As seasons have changed in your life, has your circle had to evolve?
100%.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The people that have got me here may not get me there.
Yes.
And but there are some people in my community that are lifers, but they also want to grow with me.
Yes, absolutely.
And they want to continue to get better. But even as my wife and I have moved and Ohana has changed and there's been this metamorphosis, this growth that's happened, the people that I love them deeply, and they're close to my heart, but may not be a part of this next season of my life.
Yeah,
and that's hard to even think about.
It is. I think
it's painful, maybe.
Yeah,
but it just is a thing,
and it is tough, and I think it's one of the number one reasons that people either don't go upstream or they stop going upstream. Is they still have tethers with downstream people. Or even they might be slightly upstream, but they're still tethered to them, and therefore it's holding them back. And
I'm pulling them. I gotta pull. I need people swimming with me,
right,
and be pushing with me. And hey, we're lifers, but we got to row
100%. So it's kind of we need to be in the same boat. Or we have to disconnect.
And there's moments people that can be in the same boat that some of the people in my community, they got to take a break. Hey, I got you. I got you. Because you know what? When I had my a panic attack and I was going through it and I could not go anymore, I called you.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, I got this. Here we go. So there's moments where we all get to take a breath, a rest. But you can't be dead weight in the back, dude.
Right.
And just eating Pringle chips.
Yeah.
And just kind of making it happen and just riding the wave here. Hey, Ryan, I've noticed that people, do you ever notice that people latch on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They just want to keep riding with you for as long. I'm dude, are you going to get on are you going to move your row here? Are you going to start doing something?
Absolutely.
It's very, very, it gets a little comical, frustrating, I would say at times, but then Sarah and I have had to almost reevaluate our circle. And we don't even like to really, I guess I'm talking about it now, but we've had to be super intentional of like, hey, how are we going to give because we have a finite amount of time
Yes.
and a finite amount of energy. And God has given us great influence, a great community, our kids that we're called to raise, and we want the circle around them to be like, take them to the next level.
Right.
But I'm like, I only got this much time and this much energy to give. And like, I can't, not who's in, who's out, but it's like, I just there's only so much of me to give right now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess, how do you decide how that works?
I think there's going to be some people.
Or you're running. Maybe you're a lion. Maybe you're running, and okay, I'm gonna keep running. And it's like, I'm running towards Jesus. It's like when you're dating your spouse. Like, I'm gonna run towards Jesus, and who's left with me? That's my partner.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna run, and who's with me is who is ready for the next season.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's okay to understand that there might be some people that are purely social / you just have a good time with them.
Yeah.
But really, for my wife and I, what we learned is that if we wouldn't trade spots with them, we don't want them, then we don't allow them permission to speak into our life.
Okay.
That's good. And I'm not saying
so you have fun friends, you have people that maybe you not vacation with, but like you enjoy poker with.
Yeah, exactly. So in my book, I even talk about this, is that, the poker group, the invites, it's about 150 people on that group. So it's a large group, but they're not all part of my inner circle.
Yeah.
I have a group of guys that I meet with on twice a month on Thursdays.
Yep.
Like, those are inner circle guys.
Yeah.
Those are guys that I respect immensely. And
that you shut up and listen to.
Exactly.
Even if you got a big personality, you're like, I need you to speak into this right now.
Exactly.
I got stuff going on with my kids. I need to know that. Like, I need to hear from you.
Yes. So, and I'm not saying I want to trade lives with them, but if I swapped my work ethic and my values for them, my life would probably improve.
Yes.
It definitely wouldn't degrade.
Right.
And so that's the important thing to understand, is that, okay, you're going to have some groups that are bigger, but you're going to limit, like, it might just be for fun and social purposes.
Sure.
You're going to significantly limit how they can speak into your life.
Yeah.
And just identifying, that, it's roughly that group of 5 that you run the closest with.
Yeah.
That's who you'll be in 5 years.
Right. Yeah. It's like the whole, Jesus has his 3, his 12,
Exactly.
and the 72.
Yep.
It's the MySpace days of like your top 5 friends or however many you had.
And I never had MySpace, so I don't even know how it worked.
Yeah, I remember vaguely, like when we were in college, like your top 5, and it was like a thing.
Oh, that's funny. So you could literally move people in and out of the top 5. Okay.
Did I make the top 5 or not?
Oh my gosh.
This is how our culture is going to. We're losing it.
Wow, that is crazy. It's toxic.
That people, it's not good. But there's only so much energy that these people that can speak into your life, and these few people that are meant for it. Is that kind of fit into your book when you're talking about running with lions?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
So the concept of running with lions is that, have you been on a safari?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
I'm not yet. I will.
I'm sure you will. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll take your kids. We had the privilege of going on one about 4 years ago. It was March of 2020.
Okay.
We took our 3 boys, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, I bet.
Without a doubt, one of our favorite animals to see is the lion.
Sure.
They're ferocious, yet they're calm.
Yeah, I love that.
And I heard Darren Hardy talk about the fact that lions, although they could kill a mouse, they don't. They don't waste their time on it.
Yeah, that's
because the return on investment isn't there.
Yeah.
Right? It takes about as much energy for a lion to kill a mouse as it does an antelope, but they're going to feast on the antelope, and their entire family is. So just from the standpoint of realizing I need to spend my time on things that matter.
Yeah.
Not the little things of life. Number one. So that's the first concept of running with a lion. But the idea is that they're this, they're the king of the jungle. They're the king of the savannah. And they're this regal animal that when you see them in the wild, they're relaxed. They're just taking care of their family. You're watching them from an SUV with an open top, and you're like, if they wanted to, they could jump on the roof and then on the ceiling, or
Take you out.
Yeah, just take me out. But they don't. They don't waste their energy on that kind of stuff. And so it's just like, this is who you want to be as a lion as opposed to a donkey. Mm-hmm. And so when you want any area of life, if you want to improve, whether it's your health, your marriage, your parenting, your finances, your spirituality, look for someone that represents a lion or a group of people and run with them.
Yes.
If you want to get healthy, you have to break up with your beer drinking, smoking, overweight friends. And I'm not saying you kick them out, you leave them behind, but you realize unless they join you on the journey, it's not going to happen. So you need to go seek out some people that you're like, that is what I want.
Yes.
Same thing for marriage. If your marriage is struggling, you got to look at your friends. I'm guessing some of your friends have struggling marriages, and you need to go find some people that have a healthy, happy, thriving marriage that understand it takes work and you have to invest in it. You go spend time with those lions of marriage, and your marriage will improve.
Yeah.
So that's what running with lions means.
That's powerful. Yeah. When I love the analogy of lions when because they are calm, but they're powerful.
Yeah. And they'll be ferocious and vicious when they have to be.
Yeah.
But they're not like that all the time.
Yeah. And God gave me a scripture about like being as calm as a lion, but they're like, you have to be like, for me, when you think about protecting your family, like a lion is very symbolic for that.
Exactly.
Like you don't have to be, even as a man, there to protect your family. Like for me with my kids, I want to be like a lion where they know that, hey, I'm powerful and protect you, but there is calm. I'm present. I'm with my kids, and I want to have other lions that I'm running with.
Yeah,
that's so good. So you kind of, as we end our time, you're creating this community that is going after uncommon freedom. You have this unique ability to be able to invite people on this journey. And you do this through multiple gatherings. Kind of share like what is your strategy of how you do that and how you invite people in to your life. I think for people, like you have this unique ability to be able to do that. And in today's world, everyone is so stuck on social media, is so focused on just me and right now, but you welcome people in, and it's very attractive to others. And I think people want to create community, but they just don't know how. Yeah. And so how have you guys been so successful at creating community and being authentic? First time I met you, have hundreds of guys showing up. You're in a tank top with Celine Dion on it. I'm like, dude, this guy is like a...
What was that? What event was that?
It was the poker night, man.
Okay.
You had a Celine Dion shirt, just didn't give a crap. And... you like have big old arms. I mean, not as big as mine, but it's all right.
I'm working on it. Trying to run with you, man.
But you are unapologetic that you say, hey, we're here to smoke cigars, but I want you to know that Jesus loves you. Like, dude, I can run with this guy. And people were like, heck yeah. Like you probably don't even remember you're doing all this.
Well, the community piece, when I look back on my life, I don't know if it's just like, my wife and I have, from the early days, invited people in. Sure. And I think a lot of people are waiting for it.
Absolutely they are.
And my advice to anyone who doesn't have the community they want is go create it.
Okay.
I have found if you invite people, they will come. If they don't, then you might need to take a look at yourself and say, okay, why aren't people come? Like, what is it about my life that's so unattractive that no one wants to spend time with me? And I'm not trying to beat anybody up, but I think it's fair to say, gosh, if people don't want to spend time with me, go ask some friends for a 360-degree evaluation. If you're willing to hear the hard truth and say, hey, I'm trying to build this community. It doesn't seem like anyone wants to join. Do you have any insight as to why it is? Maybe it's because you're super negative. Maybe it's because all you do is you talk about all the things going wrong with the world. And people don't want to be around that.
Or you're talking about your high school days. Dude, we're 40 years old.
Yes.
Like there has been 3 decades since then.
Right.
What are we looking forward to?
So when I was in the Marine Corps, my wife and I, We hosted holiday meals because we were in Japan, Okinawa, Japan. So almost none of us had any family around. So we just opened up our home and invited people. Hey, Thanksgiving
and you're super
dinner.
predictable about this.
Yes.
Like
yes.
one of the things about yourself is like it's not a one-time thing, and if you can come, you can come.
Yeah.
So the invites is always open, and you create this. You have this fun, especially for guys, to get to know each other. So you have this kind of fun. Everyone loves to play poker, but then you're super intentional about this rhythm that you're always doing. It's every single month.
Yep.
And is that part of your strategy? Is that you're always predictable with it?
Yeah.
What other things that you're in? You just are open with your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just inviting people in, once again, creating that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because Becca, my wife and I, we talk about this frequently. Like we do 95% of the inviting.
Right.
We can, and I think if it's the case for us, it's probably the case for most people where their life is pretty boring. There's not a lot of community because most people just don't prioritize it.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you want it, you need to create it.
Yeah.
So the whole poker thing for me is just once again, really saying, I want to control my sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And I also want to have something that I can invite guys into. And I found that poker is a great way to, it's not one-on-one, right? If I just met you, I'm like, hey, do you want to go to coffee? That sounds a little bit awkward potentially,
Sure.
because two guys that don't know each other getting together, it's a little intense almost.
Yeah.
But if you can come to a poker game and you can also bring a friend, because I understand showing up to a poker game where I don't know anybody but one person and there's 30 other people there, a little intimidating for a lot of people. But it just, it's something that you can invite people to and it's not weird. And I'll meet people, anywhere. And if I'm like, okay, they seem like a good guy, I'll invite them to poker and many of them will actually come.
And you have this kind of this red hot center of these guys who are super loyal to it that have created this very welcoming culture, but you can shoot the breeze, you can laugh and have fun. And for guys, it's like very attractive. You're like, oh, this is cool.
Absolutely.
So it's like this group that becomes this, it's their highlight of their month.
Oh, literally. I mean, the number of guys are like, Kevin, this is my favorite day of every single month.
I work around. I tell my wife that we can't vacation these days, right?
No, literally. That happens. They're like, Kevin, I'm planning my trip for February. Do you know when you're doing poker? Because I need to get that on the calendar.
You have made an impact in people's lives in big ways is when they plan their stuff around what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And that's the same true for Sarah and I. Is like people are asking, hey, when is this happening? When is this? Because we need to make sure that we're available for those things.
Yeah.
And I bet you those people call you when they're going through hard things. Yeah.
I mean, they're good people. The relationships that I built, like you wouldn't expect it from, people that I met. I mean, there's a guy that I literally, I bought a gun from him in 2020 off of Arms List and then bought another one and invited him to poker. And now he's become a really good friend of mine. That's but the key is you have to build relationship with people.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I look at, there's no recorded poker games in the Bible that I know of, at least with Jesus. But when I look at kind of how he lived his life, like he went to the people, he spent time with them. Yeah. And I think a lot of what he did looked like just hanging out with people, building that relationship. And for me, the poker is how I do that in 2024.
And even when I think about even growing a business and a level of influence, that's you have to do that. You have to be intentional with people and get into those rooms where you can rub shoulders and make relationships.
Absolutely.
So the last question I always try to ask is, you found this freedom in your life, which is a really powerful thing. And you're raising kids, you've built this great business. You're an amazing performance coach for people. Like, what do you want to be remembered for? Like for the Tinters, like this legacy that you have. Yeah. Like what, at the end of your life, what do you want to be known for?
I mean, honestly, I most want to be known as being generous for the sake of Jesus. Because stewardship, we didn't really get to talk about it today, but it's one of my core values.
Yeah.
I love the parable of the talents, Matthew 25.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite, if not favorite, scriptures. And I think that I really believe that God expects us to steward everything.
Amen. Yeah.
Not just your money, but your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your spouse and with others, your finances, your health. And a lot of people live life with this mindset of, I will steward it when I have a lot. And the answer is no, you won't. Yeah. If you don't steward the little, you won't steward a lot. And most people don't have a lot. And granted, if you live in America, by comparison, you do have a lot.
Yeah.
But we also don't steward it well. So the joy of giving is something, I heard this recently, and I don't know who to give credit to, but they said, if you don't think money buys happiness, you haven't given enough away. And I heard that, and I can say it's completely true. I mean, I love taking a nice vacation to the Bahamas with my kids. That's one of my highlights of the year.
Sure.
But I also absolutely love being able to make an impact, God using me and my wife and the finances we've been blessed with to make an impact, to fund ministry, to make a difference in people's lives. And that's really what I want to be remembered for.
And I could tell you without a doubt, that is something that I have watched you do that have impacted the kids that God has given us to love really well. There is a girl in one of our homes at Ohana. Your family has, and you probably didn't even know this, but you guys took one of our kids on a shopping, not even just a shopping spree. You just want to spend time with them and say, hey, I want kids to just be a kid. And some of our kids haven't even been to it's probably a surprise to most people, haven't even been to a mall.
Right.
Hasn't even been on an escalator before.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
And what you were able to do is create a sense of safety for our kid. And now she's 17 years old. And one of her highlights of living at Ohana was this family came and like took us in as one of their kids and spent the entire day with us and took us shopping, took us to lunch, and just was like a mom and dad to us.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun. Like, those experiences are amazing. It's good for my kids to see. Literally, I remember that boy going down the escalator and like not knowing what the heck is going on. And my kids kind of watching and just realizing how fortunate they were that none of this was new. And yet we're dealing with, teenage kids that they're having this experience for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing to be able to give those experiences to other people.
Yeah. So when you think about like your life and the legacy that you want to have, it's like you want to be able to be that to other people.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's like now in my life, as much is given, much is required.
Yes.
So like this house that we're living in now is the only reason we even thought about moving, and we knew we needed to move, is God has given Sarah and I much. So now that much has been given, that now we need to give that to these kids.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful picture.
It is.
So, man, thank you so much we do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we've just like beginning to scratch the surface, and there's like so much with business. There's so much with our marriage. We didn't even talk about marriages or everything else.
Yep.
So come on again, please.
I'd be happy to be here anytime, Ryan.
All right. Well, thank you. Until next week, may you unleash your purpose so you can profit in business, faith, and life. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for the Unleash Your Purpose podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.